We're going live. We're live. We made
I
it.
think so.
Sorry, it's
Oh
just
my God, that's frustrating.
spamming people
Sorry
here.
about
Don't be frustrated. It's fine. This is a free
Well, so-
service that you provide. Come on, it's a lot of value to
So-
extrapolate here.
If I go to present my screen, share my screen, I'll
Oh,
go with the whole screen,
oh,
entire screen, share. And I go over here. Normally, this
Yeah,
this is the pointing to the Apollo twin, which if I go into settings and
this is the
hardware,
rare behind the scenes look, folks.
and I identify it, I see
Yeah.
my Apollo twin is flashing, so it's definitely got it. But and there should be normally
Yeah. looks like you're in
two
Yeah.
things right here, and one of them's just not showing up. So I'm not really sure what happened.
I'm glad you're showing me because I can still your plugin settings.
Yeah, so I'm not really
and a
sure.
script from one of your YouTube videos. This is the most recent YouTube
What's
upload script. I see your
What's
script on
that?
the bottom left. That's from your most recent YouTube upload, right? Using
Yes.
Olama as a function. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not watched it. I apologize, but I saw it and it caught my eye. You are now
So-
recommended. I don't even know if I subscribe, but you're recommended. on YouTube.
So there's this, and then I actually use.
You're super loud though. You're like
Oh,
20
am I?
off over. Yeah. You
Okay.
clip from
Did
your
it just change?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, let's.
Oh yeah, it's redlining. You can see it there. Just turn that knob right down.
Okay. So now,
see it.
do you hear it?
Much better.
Much better. Okay.
Yeah. Much better.
Yeah. I mean, all the settings were for the other mic.
Still a bit loud, just a little bit lower.
Oh,
You
actually,
get a very booming voice, so we got to tune you in here. Just we'll help our audience. We'll do this live.
yeah.
Sounds better.
Okay. Now.
Much better.
Yeah. So this is the setup for this mic that I have right here, but I swapped the mic cables, so I'm still using that mic.
Yeah.
So I don't really need that
Gotcha.
because I'm not talking on it. But the way I actually do my presentations is I use another tool called SpeakFlow.
Ah.
And
Cool.
and so there's a subscription you have to pay for.
Okay.
So I forget what I paid. I think I actually info pay for it. But when I go in and I can create a new script and basically just paste in the text that I wrote in Obsidian. But when I come in here and I present, now I can start reading off and wonder if it hears, because my audio is all messed up. I wonder if it's hearing something. Okay, it is. So function calling. This has to be the worst name for a feature. Every company I've worked for had marketing folks who had no idea.
Dude, we gotta stop. This is a sponsor role. We gotta save some for the sponsors.
No. I mean, what's interesting?
This is so awesome.
I mean,
I would buy this just by this demo alone.
Yeah, it was hearing what I was saying.
Yeah.
What the feature and that feature something that sounded cool but had nothing to do with the feature. So if you know what this feature is, so it's recognizing the whole time, which is amazing.
That is awesome. Your audience is enamored with the behind the scenes look. So we got Brian and PC Humanity and Subitix in here, who are, I guess, sitting on YouTube waiting for us to go live. We're extremely sorry. Normally it's my fault, so I apologize.
So regarding loopback,
yep,
I do sometimes use loopback, but I'm not on this machine. So this machine does not have loopback installed.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm also a big fan of audio hijack and loopback. They're super handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a full app, would agree.
Audio hijack is interesting because now, as of, I don't know, December or November, you can have audio come in and then it will feed it automatically to a whisper model that's built into audio hijack, and it'll do speech to text.
No API key?
Now it's no API key.
Oh, nice.
So with Whisper, you can either use Whisper that's hosted by OpenAI, or you can download the model and run it locally.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's all from Open. You
Oh,
go to OpenAI's website, and they have the download and the executable for all the
oh,
platforms. And so you run it
gotcha.
locally, and then it will, do that. And so what's great, so what Audio Hijack does, it will, listen to your thing, and when you say you're done, you stop the
Yeah.
ingest, and then it sends it over to Whisper, and Whisper creates the text file.
Mm-hmm.
There's another tool on the Mac called Super Whisperer, Super Whisperer, or Super
Oh,
Whisper, which will basically every like second or 2 seconds, it sends what you've said to Whisper so that it's live transcode or
yeah.
whatever, typing it out to text.
Yeah.
And so you see it as you're speaking. You see your notepad or Obsidian or whatever
Right.
fill in, which is really neat. Actually, no. You see it? You see it somewhere, and
Okay.
then when you stop with a keyboard shortcut, it will
Right.
paste that in to
Oh,
the app that you're using
that's kind of handy.
automatically without having to do
Yeah,
a
yeah,
copy
yeah.
paste. That's really cool.
That is really cool. Oh, I love this. And honestly, the speech to text in macOS on its own, just in terms of transcribing, I think is
Hmm.
generally pretty good. But what I get
Yeah.
really stuck on is like when we're into context, like when I've maybe entered the Kubernetes context or the cool bean eddies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apple will invent all types of stuff for it. But I will say, so too, we're getting super popular here. I'm not sure if you've noticed. People are asking about microphones and stuff. We got a problem. I did, however, have a friend reach out to me and one ask if I was okay because I said I was tired. I mean, I've got a puppy, folks. I'll be fine. Minor mental breakdowns alone. He also asked another question. Now I told him this is danger for Matt, but we'll have to time box it here. But he did ask what you're currently using for your video prompter, which honestly it tells us that he hasn't watched all the episodes because I think we cover this most times. But what have you settled
I
on now as opposed to the Elgato?
So yeah, I have a video about the Elgato
Yep,
prompter,
we
which is
know you
hot
love it.
garbage, which is
Yep.
hot garbage. Not because some people will say, "Oh well, you don't like it because it's lightweight." Like, no, 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 no. I love lightweight. Lightweight's amazing. Lightweight doesn't mean it has to be built like crap. And so my complaint about that is just it's so poorly made that it will
Right.
snap as
Right.
soon as you move it. Well, not as soon as you, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but as soon as you move it to a different place a few times, something's going to break because it's extremely flimsy. And it's
Right.
so you can do that. You can build use because they've and of course, then it's Elgato, so their software kind of sucks too. Like
Mhm.
all their software generally sucks. And then it's Windows and Mac, which is fine for me because I'm on a Mac. But if you're on Linux, that's not going to
Right.
work. Okay, so what am I using right now? What am I using right now? I am
So like
using I'm
Padcaster,
using
right?
the Pad Prompter,
Pad prompter. My apologies.
which is a device. I don't know if it's for sale anymore by a company called One Take Only. Um, it might still be for sale. I mean, I've had this for
Yep. Still on sale on B&H. This is Jordy, I think, or Jordy from the community who asked us. Jordy
mm,
One Company using like open source software land. So maybe he is using Linux. It's possible. It
yeah,
is still for sale on B&H, so for $375. So if
yeah. I
listen,
would say
again,
it's
we don't have a discount code or anything like that, but we're selling a lot
I
today.
wouldn't say it's the best, but it's the one I still use. Mostly because I mean I have a Glide Gear
Right?
TMP 100, I think, as well,
Yep.
which is pretty much the same thing. Um, Perhaps even a little bit better built, but
Right?
I think it expects like a either a phone or a tablet to be in there, and it holds it by like having these clamps, and that clamp down onto the phone.
Gotcha.
And I'm using a Lilliput 9 or 10 inch monitor, or I think 10-inch monitor.
Mhm.
So it's a regular monitor that you plug in and have an HDMI port in, but on the monitor itself, it has an option for reversing the text.
Ah, nice.
So I don't have to do anything it's just an external
Right.
monitor.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it's an external monitor for this Mac. So this interface that I'm looking at for StreamYard, I see it down here, but I also see it up there, which is
Gotcha.
great.
I will say one thing:
And
you
then,
gotta fix our viewport here. We can see my messy couch, unfortunately. Which I did clean, just the amount that you can see when it's like cut. Obviously, I should have cleaned the entire couch before podcast.
but
Yep.
But with my, I have two monitors, and right now they're both showing the StreamYard software.
Right.
But I can, because I've actually set up all the all the options on my Stream Deck, and because I'm kind of a Elgato fanboy, except for one product, and so I've got buttons on here that say for my teleprompter show the Mac Mini, or show the multi-view, or show camera, as well as for the monitor down here, show Mac Mini, or multi-view, or just the camera. And often I will put the teleprompter at just the Mac Mini, and this big screen down here just the view of my camera, and that way I can kind of see generally, okay, I'm in the right spot, this way or that way, and I'm kind of in the middle, and I'm this way I'm more tempted to look at the camera,
Right.
which is the Mac Mini screen, and not look down here at me, because I don't really want to look at me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But
then
now,
yeah.
So we get a quick segue for you. It's not great, but I'll try. So yesterday I was walking the dogs, and I did, in fact, see a teleprompter in real life. And I'm not sure if this is normal, but it was on the set of a TV series. We started taking photos. We had no idea what we were looking at. It was Tracker. Have you heard of this series? They were filming.
No.
I don't know why you'd use like a teleprompter. Maybe it was some other type of monitor, but it was a camera with a screen on the end of it, so it didn't look like a teleprompter. But they were, so Tracker is like a CBS series. I think Jon Stewart said he's the human AirTag was the joke. I've not seen the series. And Justin Hartman was the person who was in This Is Us. Unfortunately, I didn't really watch that series either. But listen, we've got some photos. But I was wondering just what the heck they could have been doing. Like, did someone forget their lines? Or like, was it a big character or something like that? Because like, this isn't normal. But the scene was pretty cool. And like the amount of lights and stuff like that was really neat to look at. Anyway, I thought you might find this interesting. But their teleprompter was like this big, like massive. 10 inches.
So teleprompters can get extremely expensive. I mean, these professional teleprompters, I don't know, $100,000 for a teleprompter. And so it's expensive stuff. There are lower end professional ones by companies like ICANN. And I was interested when I made the video. I was thinking, well, that would be the next obvious thing, but it turns out they have these terrible resolution monitors on them, and so the monitor that's even on this big screen, it's like a 17-inch screen or 19-inch screen.
Like 1024,
it's still only
kind of thing.
It's like 1280 by 720.
That's not good for text. I mean, it's not good for a lot of text. It's good for big
text. Okay if you're doing really big text, it's fine.
Big text, yeah.
Big text from 20 feet away, that's great. But if you are 5 feet away, 3 foot away, it's terrible, because I want to see a lot of detail. So here's what when I got the prompter, I was thinking I would continue this setup where I've got a big monitor. Maybe I'll eventually have two big monitors, and then the teleprompter right where my teleprompter is right now. And I have to have it on a big tripod. So it'd be nice if it were lighter, because then I could, go down to a lighter tripod. I'd be able to move this desk a little closer to the wall. I'd be able to have a little bit more space between me and the camera. And so the prompter from Elgato seemed to like, oh my God, this will be like a game changer. But
it's like
then it turned out to be, and then it turned out not to be true.
I feel like I could start up a startup just buying them and refurbing them and selling them.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like just to Matt, though, my only client. I would just like 100 variations and repeatedly sell them to you over and over again.
Well, I mean, if you were able to see the future, a good business would have been to buy a whole bunch when you first saw that first review video. So the first review video I saw was by that's what Senpai Gaming or something.
Oh yeah, Senpai Gaming.
Harris
I've seen
Heller.
it a couple times.
And I saw that video, and before I even finished the video, I had it ordered because, like, oh my god, this is a game changer. This is going
That's
to
how
be
they
amazing.
get you. This is why
$300,
works.
but okay, it's definitely worth it. This is one that I will have to explain to my wife later. Buy it now and apologize later, rather than I'm thinking about getting this teleprompter. That So I just got it. And then it didn't turn out to be as great. So what I'm going to do now, I still can't go to a light version because the only light one is garbage. But what I think I'm going to do is there is a really kind of a sketchy website for a company that makes beam splitter glass. And
I think you've shown this to me before. I mean, it's a manufacturing website. It's not that bad.
They've got a whole bunch of videos on it, and all the videos are.
Okay, I did not watch the videos. I'll take your word for it.
The videos are showing how to install this, but the person who is standing there demonstrating this, if you were to go by a stereotype, might be seen as not too bright, and maybe you're looking at something else that they offer on themselves rather than the teleprompter. But
come on. Gotcha.
They have a series of different people doing these demonstrations. So, but still, the teleprompter itself, it's a really cool idea. So they sell you this beam splitter glass, and you can get it. I mean, this is the most expensive part of a lot of these teleprompters. You get the glass, and say, if you go with I was thinking of going with a 20 or 24 inch portable monitor. So they're super light, minimal power requirements, and an HDMI in. So go with one of those, and I believe that has the reverse built in. That was something that's kind of hard to figure out. So I'd have to buy a bunch on Amazon and return them when they don't do reverse. So you've got that, and then you've got a binocular window mount. So if you want to use binoculars, like big binoculars, and you've driven to somewhere, or maybe you're on safari in Africa and you're in a car, they make these binocular holders that you roll down your windows till the glass is just a little bit up, and these things clamp onto the glass and then hold your binoculars. And so basically they've just kind of reversed it that you're screwing it onto the tripod, and now you've got this thing that holds a piece of glass, like a beam splitter glass, and you can angle it because of the ball head. You can angle it any way you want. So you angle it just right, and now you've got this big piece of glass. Now that big piece of glass is like $600 for the piece of glass.
Right.
But then you've got that and a $200 monitor. So you're getting a very high quality, large 24-inch monitor. I can replace this monitor. I don't need this anymore. I can just have that one, and that way, I want to use a teleprompter where I can use it as a monitor, and I can do my work and look right at whoever's on the other end, just like a regular full monitor. And when I want to use teleprompter, well, I just make sure it's really squeezed in and a short amount, so it stays right where the lens is, rather than taking up the full screen. But even then, actually, then I can have the teleprompter window in the middle of the screen and continue working, but still talking to the teleprompter.
I have so many things.
I think is ideal.
So many things. Okay. It's like I'll put my budding product manager hat on for a second. Okay, you found the Goldilocks teleprompter. I think for you, Would agree. It's pretty big, has a lot of features. Now, would it break, would you say, when you breathe on it, or no?
I don't think it would break when you breathe on it, but it would be so. It
It
would
sounds
be able
more fragile
to.
than the Elgato. I'm no expert.
I don't know.
It's
I
a
mean,
raw piece of glass on a
it would be.
walnut?
It's a more expensive piece to fix if you break it. But I think they're like 3/4 inch thick piece of glass. I mean, we're not 3/4. It's a
I
3.
think with glass, all you have to do is score it in a certain way, and it just shatters, right? Is
Yeah,
how it works.
yeah.
That's why I'm always scared about
So
these things.
So yes, there is a problem there. I mean, I would not say it's perfect, but it is at least, if I want to move it, if I'm taking a bit of care with it, I can do that. I can even pack it.
I think that applies
That
to
is
the
not an
Elgato.
option.
I'm not being devil's advocate here. I think that applies to the Elgato. But
No.
I have a question. I'm trying
You
to
cannot pack that Elgato.
I'm trying to get
You cannot pack the Elgato.
What would you say the field of view that you need is the most important, right? Like in terms of the size of the monitor. It's 24. It sounds like it's about like this, right? Is the field of view that you're looking for? Something like that. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Would you say the Apple Vision Pro on your face would solve this problem? Because it's a monitor.
Sort of.
Oh,
but
actually,
then
it's not a monitor. No, you
it's
need
not. You're not getting my face.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We don't need your face. We discussed earlier. So you need something with an Oculink that can become a
I mean,
monitor.
it's everything is solved if I do videos like this.
Right. Like off
and
screen,
I am not
right?
on screen.
Yeah, that's something somebody told me early on. Is like, people don't need to see you. If you're just explaining a tech topic, they don't necessarily see you. And I was like, thanks, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that human connection. I don't know if any of my videos would have. I mean, not my videos are like huge blockbusters.
Who in the chat is here for Matt? Supposed to really 100%, unless my mom has showed up again.
Well, I don't know if
having the personality
people would have watched it if it was just a
like a person in a Vision Pro.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they would, because that's pretty cool.
Is it? Because did you watch the Marquez Brownlee one where he's wearing it pretty much
it looks like
the
an
whole
idiot
time and talking to the camera? That's what I thought. And
yeah,
love Marquez. It just, to me,
I watched that because it's Marquez.
Yeah, but to me it felt very I don't know if cringy is like forced.
Yeah,
it just like, you don't need that headset on. It provides no value. And like I don't need to look at Marquez. I was like, I'd rather see you than the person with the headset on. But and it's not cheap, but it is a resolution to the I want a massive field of view, a screen, and the thing. I just don't want to see content with people with the Vision Pro on.
And if I felt better about not being on screen and doing a whole video where I'm not seen at all, then I don't need a teleprompter at all, because I can just have the mic right here, talk. Here's my microphone anyway. I don't even need that microphone. I can pull this microphone in and have the microphone here. This sounds a little bit better than that one does, just a little warmer and a little nicer.
Right.
And so that solves so many problems. And
now I'm almost done.
Okay.
Bear with me. So in that video, I think he kind of mentions it right towards the end. Like, wouldn't this be great if it was participatory content? And by the way, chat's going nuts. Like, they're all here for you. In case there was any doubt, if you need a little ego boost after messing up the mic prior to joining, here you go. But like, I wonder if I could do a virtual talk with a room, I'm air quotes here, but like a virtual room of people wearing Vision Pros, where we all have those awful avatars that Apple's currently using.
Were you talking about Second Life?
Basically, yeah. Or like Fortnite, if you're gonna put an actual pin on it. Like, yeah, could I teach you about Olama in Fortnite? Pretty sure I could. Like, I think all you need to do is listen, right? Like, in terms of the concepts and stuff like that. Teaching you the tech stuff might be a little bit harder. But I think when he was talking about it, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I want version 4, basically. So when Bloomberg's coming out and they're talking about version 4 of this Vision Pro, like, I'm starting to think of those use cases.
Yeah.
And yeah, teleprompter was one of the things that came up to me. Like, if they don't need to see my face and I'm on the monitor and the teleprompter already and don't need to worry about where my eyes are, this is pretty handy, because like I can move things around, and that's actually kind of nice. But man,
Yeah. And there is also the there's a software add-on for NVIDIA graphics cards where
right?
it will basically adjust your eyes so that instead of looking like it's looking down, you're looking right at the camera the whole time.
Oh, that just sounds like Uncanny Valley. Sounds awful.
It sounds like you're like your eyes are like you've taken them out and replaced them with marbles that are always in the same spot, which
Let,
sounds
let,
horrible.
let the record show that the chat also does not want a virtual mad avatar. The consensus seems to be that the real life humans are what we want.
Yeah.
What do we
I
got
mean,
here?
that said, there are some videos that have even talked about Olama that are spectacular, and we never see that person. The guy who I don't know
Right,
who the person is behind Fireship, but
right.
his videos are
Fireship is AI created, by the way.
weird.
And
Huh?
I mean this in a nice way. There is stuff in Fireship that's like AI created for sure. Also, as a Descript abuser, like there's that plus Descript. So I feel like when he makes the flubs, or they
Well,
make the
Fireship
flubs,
has
I think
existed
it's
for
a long
a
time.
long time,
Yeah.
long before these AI tools have been available.
Yeah, but I think he's
Yeah.
using Whisper to fix his flubs specifically, or actually, it's probably
Mm.
Descript because Descript does that
Yeah.
automatically. Um, but he's quick. He's real quick, like a
Oh my
video a
God. It's
day, I think, and
yeah.
generally pretty good on the memes. Like he's got a good stable of memes. You could throw
Oh
in.
my
I'm
God. It
saying he,
is
but they.
so cool.
The voice is male presenting, but yeah,
Yeah.
I assume it's
I
him.
assume it's because it's the same voice as the
And it's
original
been like that for
videos.
years. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
I
his
think he just trained
earliest
it on
videos
Descript.
are, huh? Oh yeah.
I think he just trained
His
it on Descript.
earliest, yeah. His earliest videos, he's definitely slower.
Right.
He speaks like a normal human. But
Yes.
the video that talked about it was Mistral, it might have been mixture of experts, so the 8x7, something like that. So it's like a
Yep.
54 billion parameter model. That
Yep.
video, I think it's at 2 million views so far.
Whoa.
It's and it's amazing to watch, but
Dude,
it's
I'm here
also
for the JavaScript memes.
super weird.
I'm here for the memes because like a lot of times I don't understand I can't even speak JavaScript frameworks, and for me I find this kind of like meme topic sticks in my brain. Like, oh yeah, that's
Mm,
the one that, this is the one with types. Oh
yeah,
yeah, it's got types in the name. Like this kind of
yeah,
stuff like helps me. Is just like visual
yeah,
like memoization or something, like catching basically. I will say
right.
also that there's some questions in the chat that are probably good questions about Alama
Oh,
and RAM
okay.
usage. That's how we got two people. Apparently, they were watching your videos and noticed you were live. So one, you're getting sticky content, and like we're just gonna
Came
have
from
fun
Matt, but switched to Ryan. Oh,
because he's smart
eject.
enough to know that they didn't cover his face. That's right. Wise and old. I think someone was asking about memory usage specifically in Olama. I'm not sure if there was a question there or not. And then the other one was specifically around indexing compared to a rag. So I think what this is, I'll try to explain because I think I'm starting to get this topic, but I think you actually know. So my understanding of rag is that it will use embeddings, and the embeddings can be used via the model. You can use like OpenAI to help you get embeddings into something that could be a lookup table that you use separately, and it could be something closer to the model, but basically it's different than the model is the embeddings. My understanding of indexing is that it's in the model, and I think that's the difference. I believe they both handle context, but one might be lookups and the other one might not. I think is where I get kind of fuzzy.
So indexing isn't. I think the term for that, what I would assume is indexing, I think the term usually is fine tuning. And so with fine tuning, you'll take
Okay.
a series of questionnaire answer pairs and hand that off to the model and have it adjust or fine tune the weights that are in the model.
You nailed it. Yeah, I just pulled
Based
it up
on
just
those
to make
questions
sure.
and answers.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it.
But RAG is not modifying the model itself. It's a as you said, it's doing the embedding. So but there's a bit of stuff that needs to happen before embedding gets involved.
Yes.
If you just take the entire document and do an embedding on that, it might work. It might fit into a whatever the model's context is, but it probably won't. So you really need to chunk it up into smaller pieces.
Right.
And then do you chunk it just based on, well, I want to have 200 character chunks or 200 word chunks?
Right.
Do you want what's the piece that you want to chunk it up into? Um,
Right.
and and usually some of my experiments have been with, don't just do a set character limit, 1,000 characters or whatever it is, because then you're going to truncate a word or truncate a sentence or a paragraph mid thought. And so maybe you create chunks that are paragraphs or sets pairs of paragraphs or sets of
That seems to be
paragraphs.
pretty
And
common.
so
Yeah.
yeah, and then but then you probably also want to have a bit of overlap. And so maybe it's 200 word chunks or two paragraph chunks with one paragraph overlap, and that way you've got continuity as well.
Ah, I didn't know
Um,
that. That's smart.
but then um, but then even that might be too, it's easy for the model to get confused, or it's easy for the search to kind of get confused about what
Right.
is the thing you're looking for. If I have a rag, the I've got my all my data that talks about transformers, and I've got
Hmm.
one document that talks about transformers in the context of AI and attention and all that, and I've got another thing about transformers because I have some electronic
Robots.
stuff going on. And now I've got these two things and the model gets confused. It doesn't understand the context. It just did
Right.
the search and says, here's a bunch of source information, answer this question. And it doesn't realize that the context is wrong. Indexing the code base because tools like Copilot, say indexing.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is indexing is basically doing RAG. It's doing a search looking for uh, the embeddings that are similar, and so it takes the source material and does an embed, and the embed converts the strings into like a um, tokens that represent not just the meaning of one word, but the meaning of the whole sentence or the whole line. Maybe in code, it might be a line.
It's like
So you've got,
novelty, right? The
huh?
most novel. I think it's novelty is what it's looking for in terms of attention. I think this is where that
Maybe.
comes in. Yeah, I think so.
Um, and then it takes your question and it does embedding on that, and then looks in its database of all of these embeddings, and looks for the one that's most similar. And I think it
Right.
basically does a dot product, is matrix math
Matrix math. Yeah.
of these.
Is it
Um,
cosine vector
so
distance from this too, or is that just
yeah, something like that. So it's finding the most similar, and then
it's
says,
more than
okay,
k-means.
and then returns that value, or that says that, okay, this one is the most similar, so returns the original sentence. Or actually, no, it might just return the meaning.
Gotcha. Brian
Um,
in the chat is a wealth of info. So the first thing is, they said,
Transformers toys.
yeah, agreed. That's where my brain went. The other was that prior to
More than
this,
meets the eye.
they said they spent
Oh,
quite a few
hold on.
years in it already, and pre-embedding this was quite difficult. I can read it for the chat. That's fine.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then what else we got here? Yeah. So Brian, that's a good call out. In fact, in terms of the cosine vector distance is not always the best method. That is the one that people talk about the most, and I'm glad you're saying this because when I'm talking about k-means and things like that, like I think this proximity search has been around for a bit, but it does seem to be like we're blanket saying it's like the cosine vector. Brian's basically just saying that there's other ways to measure the distance and similarity to topics or tokens or what have you that you're looking for other than cosine vector. So good call out there.
Cool.
Yeah, so Peace to the Humanity mentions something that's pretty important, and this is one of the things that I learned about when starting to create like little rag things, is that just because you have a document to feed it doesn't mean that, yeah, like the file is relevant, the file name is relevant. So what Peace to Humanity is saying, like if the file name is index.php and I hand it a rag that's full of PHP files, it may not help at all. It could be ignoring the file name is good. The other thing that I've noticed people doing is actually getting rid of data. So if it's got like an address, a from and a to at the top, or like sometimes when you print a web page, it might have like a long URL or whatever.
Right.
They actively remove things. And in fact, prior to handing it into what's it called? There's a term for the API. Anyway, there's a retrieval API that you can use with OpenAI that will help you with the embeddings. But prior to doing that, you may want to do things like remove words that don't matter, like the or the ats and things like that. In some cases, removing these or white space in code can help you in terms of lessening the amount of tokens that you got. But absolutely, like if it's non-relevant data, then don't hand it in. Like there's no reason to do embeddings for index.php if it doesn't help you out. Oh, we get Nate in here too. Like we get the regulars. We get some new people. I think Nate's saying it's about time the masses have realized mass genius is on display and they should all be here. Matt loves it. Stroke Max ego. This is favorite. So I guess the main thing I was trying to talk about here is like I'm sort of over the Vision Pro. And I do wonder what's next. And you don't need to give me all the answers. We don't need to like help the Apple product manager with this.
So
you're
saying that you don't want to drive down the highway wearing a Vision Pro and doing work?
You've seen my notes, yes, because I don't think people should be driving cars with XR headsets on their heads. I don't think they should be driving cars while playing Mario Kart on their dashboard either.
Well, who are these idiots? They're buying like a Tesla that offers a self-driving option and then not paying attention. I mean, reading a newspaper or whatever, that would Tesla themselves say you still need to pay attention to what you're doing.
This is America.
Idiots all over the place.
Is it not the country of litigiousness? So I think you can get away with it until you're sued, right? Is that not how this works? It's like it's selfishness rules, and then like what I don't get sued for is now the law. It's not how this works. But I agree. I will say that the tech novelty of being able to wear a headset and have my car drive itself, pretty neat. However, I really I worry about the safety. I think there's something just stuck in the back of my head that's like, nah, if there's any possibility for human harm here, I don't think a disclaimer is enough. I think we need to detect that the helmet has been put on the face and then stop the car. Maybe not like a full stop, but you know.
Yeah. But then there's the which person is driving?
Right.
So if you're in the passenger seat, does that mean if you're in a car, you are not allowed to, or you're sitting on a bus or a train?
Have you heard about this? This person got into the other seat and had the Tesla driving, got in trouble because there was no one in the driver's seat. I wasn't driving.
Oh, you idiot.
We're into a problem space now where I feel it's emergent, which is cool. Things are changing. Awesome.
Right.
I also feel like some of this stuff, you may have had the forethought of assuming this might have been a bad idea before you did it. It's out there. I think Pandora's box is kind of open at this point in time in terms of self-driving cars. I really hope we get better. I've been demanding this since the get-go, but I would love it if these self-driving cars could attach to each other, and maybe we could put like rails so that they couldn't hurt people. And I mean, we could just call it a train at that point in time. But listen, you could come up with a new name. That's totally fine, and the cars can detach and reattach. It's amazing.
There was a movie like Tom Cruise. I feel like Tom Cruise was in it, and he's like trying to escape from the self-driving car, but all the self-driving cars are basically attaching to each other. Or I don't know if they were attaching, but
no, this sounds amazing.
Needed to escape. He needed to escape from it because they're catching on to whatever bad thing he did.
This is amazing.
It's
gonna be Mission Impossible, right? The newest Mission Impossible.
No, it was not one of those series. It was way in the future.
Okay. Minority Report.
What was that one where he was like he was in the was he in the clouds with somebody else and like
Tomorrow Never Dies? No, that's a Bond movie. Tomorrow something.
But it's something like that.
Edge of Tomorrow? Is it that one? Where like it's just two actors in it? I will need to watch the I do like this. Like honestly, I think this idea is okay. I might have seen an Astro Boy or something like that. but I feel like the American spirit is a little bit more independent than than the car train system might provide. I don't know. I could be wrong. There's a ton of chat in here. I'm trying to keep up. It's difficult. Yeah. So Nate, exactly. Nate, you got it. If this is your car, you'll drive it any way you want. Yes. Or tell the robot to drive it any way you want the robot to drive. Yes.
So is it with a Tesla? Is this another one of these things where you don't actually own it? You're
renting it. Yeah, I think for the self-driving that could be true because it's a subscription service software feature, right? I guess you could argue that.
And then there was like another car that like had a subscription model and some other feature of the car that used to be a standard feature and now is a subscription upgrade. That was something a few months ago.
And I get subscriptions. I understand. The problem with software is you make it once and then you sell it forever, and subscriptions help you have security, et cetera, et cetera. I get this part. I think what you're talking about is like, I paid for this, ergo I can do whatever I want with it. What is going on with that?
Matt mixed up 3 movies into one, like my grandpa's
I'm pretty sure he did. That's what I was saying. Like, I'll watch all of the Tom Cruise movies and figure out which ones you're grabbing from. Because I feel like there's at least 2 in there.
I think the one where it's like up in the clouds is a different movie, but that was the only other future movie
I think
that I could think of.
I will watch both because
Minority Report. Thank you. I think that might be it.
I'm pretty sure I said that twice, but I will rewatch it.
I thought you said Mission Impossible.
I totally said that too. And Edge of Tomorrow. My significant other is a big fan of Tom Cruise, so I've seen most of the movies. But I do like those 2. Minority Report and Edge of Tomorrow aren't too bad. There's another one here about Kubernetes and AI. So Peace to Humanity, like I am not an intelligent person. I think somebody else figured it out in the chat. What I figured out though is if you just want to deploy a front end with like an API backend in Kubernetes, that's pretty easy to do. And if you get like 1, 2, or 3 nodes, and basically you've got a resilient front end, it's kind of a sledgehammer though. There's no reason to use if all you need is a front end. There's no reason to use Kubernetes for that. If you're trying to do it on a private basis, then like something Olama, like on a pod that moves around, like a daemon set, make sure it's always available. That kind of stuff makes sense. But I think at this point in time, if you're using an external API, and a front end for the AI, then I don't feel like Kubernetes fits the bill. I think something like a Cloud Run or a Lambda or something like that would. But I'd love to hear more about it because this is very much something I'm working on as we speak. So good timing. Bed cooling subscription service is also not a bad call. I think the main thing is you want to get vendor lock-in. So like, how do we find out what you do on a regular basis, get you on a subscription service, and make it so convenient that you don't want to leave? But I wonder about like whatever this Casper mattress cooling service subscription that you're talking about is, and what features they may give you over time. Yes.
What?
It's not Casper. Sorry, I don't want to besmirch the Casper name here, but let's find out. Bed cooling subscription.
Oh my god! And then if you don't pay, it starts warming you up.
Okay. So like, first thing I found was what alternatives exist for bed cooling that don't require a subscription. I believe it's 8 Sleep is the name of the company. But yes, the bed cooling service that I found, Matt, that doesn't require a subscription is a Window. I don't know if you ever worked on Windows before.
I have.
Bad joke.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You get some dog drama.
So I had the dog was barking, and then people were coming in, and I didn't know what's going on. I don't know.
It's all good. Our chat's super lively. So it was, in fact, 8 Sleep, all one word.
8 Sleep.
I was on the subreddit.
They get a lot of, I don't know anything about them, but they get a lot of, they do a lot of podcast ads.
Oh, so they are following the Casper thing here, right? Because this is how Casper got popular.
Oh, is it? Yeah, okay.
So yes, listen, 8 Sleep, right. If you're out there, we're happy to try your product.
I feel like that's one of the Tim Ferriss sponsors is 8 Sleep.
Tim Ferriss, I think, is a pretty big podcast, is it not?
Yeah.
One of the bigger.
Some weird stuff on there sometimes.
I've honestly never.
He doesn't know when to shut up.
I don't know anybody like that. What else did I have here? Okay, so we talked about the field of view for the iPad versus the Vision Pro.
Thumbs up.
I know, I gotta turn that off. So basically, the conclusion here is, and what we were talking about with the what are they called? The displays that you can read, the teleprompters, is that basically if you could replace the field of view, the Vision Pro could replace an iPad. If an iPad is your second screen while you're watching TV, which I think it kind of is at this point in time, what they're saying is you could watch TV with your Vision Pro and do the iPad stuff like as you're doing it, kind of thing. I still feel like paying $3,000 to watch TV is kind of silly, but people do buy TVs that are $3,000.
Oh yeah.
So it's not. It's like an 86-inch screen,
and it's a whole lot lighter than carrying around a big frame TV.
Have you seen the pictures of what people bring into a Starbucks? Like the CRT setups and stuff like that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like is it already happening? Yeah. Are people wearing their Vision Pro at Starbucks?
I don't know. I haven't been out much.
So, I mean, me either. It's been raining.
But I remember when I used to live in San Francisco. I lived in the Marina, and so this is long before Datadog. Where was I? It's before I even moved to Amsterdam. So it's got to be like at least 20 years ago. And I would go to this coffee shop I think it was called The Grove, right on the street that I lived on. And there would often be this guy that brings in his whole like iMac or Mac display or and his Mac computer. I'm like big, I mean, ridiculous amount of stuff, and like set up shop and be there all day and then pack it all up and go home. It's crazy.
I'm trying to think of a way this way. Like the newer iMacs at 21 inches are pretty light and portable, but like you mentioned a computer and probably a keyboard and a mouse, and like that's just way too much.
Yeah.
So
I have been known to go to a coffee shop with my MacBook or a laptop of the time, and maybe a little stand and a keyboard. And I don't think and a trackpad. I've done that in the past when I was actually traveling, and I might be at the coffee shop of the hotel, and I just want to come downstairs.
I think what we're thinking about here is like I am a smaller person. I can work off the laptop, no problem. But also, I can understand, Matt, that you are a larger person and have larger
I'm svelte.
Svelte, yes. Good framework. Like, nice pun. You've been watching Fireship, I can tell. But you need the full size keyboard. Like I get it. I wonder though, is Starbucks missing out on a market here? Do they need to like charge you $2 extra to bring in your laptop into like the cordoned off IT co-work Starbucks space? Like maybe that's what they're missing out. They gotta start renting those tables instead of just giving away. There's change in the couch here that they could be collecting.
Yeah, and in fact, I was told to leave a Starbucks once.
Wow.
Because I brought my camera with me and I was taking pictures out the window.
Oh, interesting.
But my camera is like, it looked kind of professional. That was the Nikon D700 with the battery and so it looks like a big camera. But it was, but people who were up and down next to me, like it was one of those kind of, you're at high top on a stand, and the people next to me were holding their phones out, taking pictures. It was
big
just
difference between a phone and a pro camera, though.
Yeah, but I mean, this was just a camera that this was my camera. I'm not a pro. I'm just a photographer. I take photos.
I think Nate in the chat nailed it. It's like, sir, this isn't a Safari. This is a Starbucks.
So this was the Starbucks that's looking down on what's that Shibuya Crossing or something like that in Tokyo.
Oh, this is in Japan. This is there are whole things about taking pictures of people.
Yeah.
And this makes
no, it wasn't about taking pictures of people. It was taking pictures from through the window from the second floor down.
I also in Japan, getting asked to leave is pretty up there. So is that all you were doing wrong?
That's it. And drinking my coffee that I just bought for them.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
How dare you? Man. I do wonder. We'll have to take this offline. I do wonder what you might have done to tick off this barista. This doesn't sound like enough.
I
don't know. There might be like 5 other things unbeknownst to you that you've done.
Maybe I was releasing gas over and over again. I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, we
I'm
did get
pretty sure
some
I
feedback.
showered that day.
We got some feedback about your mic being a bit loud, which I thought. Sorry, PC Humanity. We tried to fix in the beginning of the episode, but it
Yeah,
didn't seem to be
so
that bad.
my whole setup um for my audio interface, it's dropped um one whole set half of the system. I don't know what's going on. So I'll figure that out.
Quality line.
I think I might be making a call to Universal Audio saying, my thing's broken.
Yeah, that sucks. On the other hand, PC Humanity. Next time, what I can do is actually turn mine up because my gain's turned down almost to like 1. It's pretty low, so I can turn it up quite a bit. I will say though, the reason for this, I've got a good excuse this time for being a little bit lower. I have a NAS sitting next to me, which you can kind of see the fan. There's literally a server NAS with 16 drives in it, I think, right beside me. So this is why mine is low, so you can't pick up all this noise.
So how are we doing on time? Are we like over?
Yep.
We're over.
10 minutes left, I think. Yeah, just trying to quickly roll into the check-ins. We're not doing too bad.
So I'm very curious about this NAS. I mean, do you have only one machine hooked up to it right now, or?
Oh no! This is a saga. I can talk about this for a while. No, it's hooked up to 4 other NASs. Sorry, and it's currently ingesting all of the data so that I can clean them.
Oh, okay.
Basically, this is one of those things I bought in order to do maintenance.
Do you have only like one computer hooked up to it at the moment, or any computers?
Oh no, yeah, I've got 5 computers hooked up to it.
Okay, and are they all going to? Because there's like 2 Thunderbolt interfaces into that, right?
2 Thunderbolt, 2 10 gig, and 4 2.5 gigabit.
So the question I've often wondered is if I have when I connect to a Thunderbolt.
Oh, you're gonna hate this. I already know the answer. Go ahead. Yep.
To my Mac, is that a Thunderbolt connection or is that a network connection?
It is a network connection.
Okay.
That's network over Thunderbolt, which is like, exactly what you thought. I kind of bought it just to figure that out because that's exactly what I thought.
But it's still, is it close to 10 gig?
It is not. Which I also knew because I am a dummy, but I also understand protocol overhead. So it's about 80%. You lose about 20%.
Okay, that's fine.
You can get 8 gigabit, which is pretty good.
Okay, awesome.
Drives. Yeah, pretty good.
If you are, so both, if you have 2 computers that are hooked up over the Thunderbolt, they both have read and write access to the same, essentially same files at the same time.
Yes. For better or for worse. Making sure.
Yeah, I mean,
for better
reading
or for worse,
when you're writing. Yeah.
It can be fine. It is also, it's dual personality. So it can run in what they call QTS mode or QUTS hero mode. So basically EXT4 or ZFS are your choices.
Yeah. Oh.
Big fan of ZFS. Would highly recommend going EXT4 because for consumers you can expand the RAID array and stuff like that. ZFS you can buy a whole other unit, no problem. You cannot expand that array unless you add a whole other array or make smaller VDEVs. Basically, again, I knew all this jumping in, but on the ZFS side, you do have GUI control over the cache for both the zero intent log, I think the ZIL, as well as the ARC cache. So as you're you can add cache to it. It's got NVMe slots to it if you want to. It's got Thunderbolt, so you can add other drives, that kind of stuff, but you can control your cache. And I think when we're talking about like multiple people reading, this is where things can get super fun with like compression and dedupe and all that stuff. And that's what I want to test. Right now, I need to do maintenance, so I got to back everything up first. The other thing is, it's got full slot PCIe, so I put a 1070, in it to do Plex stuff. But also, it's got 2 other half-height slots, so you can put in like a 4-port 10 gig if you want to. It's up to you. But it's so expandable. You can just run any OS on it if you want as well. And I will say, it runs Mac OS. It runs Windows. It runs Linux. I think it'll run Solaris because the NIC I'm using, probably not Thunderbolt. And it also runs like this OS that's based on Linux. So it can run pretty much everything. So I put in a Mac boot disk, a Linux boot disk, a Windows boot disk, a ROM one for it, a whole Z volume, and turned it on, ready to install. And it's like, great. Would you like to initialize the boot drive? And so I was like, yeah, whatever. It's eMMC. It's inside. No problem. No, it wrote 10 megabytes to every drive in the system just the header, 10 megabytes across every drive. And I'm saying 10, it might have been like 8.5, but it wrote enough that it was past the MBR, past UEFI, or EFI, sorry, and then into the headers for ZFS was just pretty far into the disk, having zeroed them before. Like it's pretty far. 10 is it's a little bit usurious at this point. Like it's using too much, basically. It's greedy. And it just wrote off everything. Luckily, I kind of assumed that it was going to do that, but the software is not good. Not good. It's got. I really want to write like a case study on how many product managers were involved in the life cycle of making this UI, because there are at least 5 different UIs in here. It is amazing. You know those legacy products that have things bolted onto them? I know a lot of them in the monitoring space that I won't mention because, you know, it happens. But they're just like, you buy a product and you shove that in there and you buy it. And it's just, it is a gargantuan mess. So anyway, pros and cons. I got it for $2,000 off because it was open box at Newegg. This is not a cheap NAS, but at that rate, it's competitive.
That's so it's what, 1,500?
It is, I think, 5,000 to start. So I paid roughly 3,000.
Oh,
so
no, I think it's
not cheap.
You paid what?
Canadian maple syrup.
Oh,
dollars.
Canadian fake bunny.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot.
So take 80% all these numbers. Sometimes half, depending. I think around $2,000.
Well, I thought so it was available. I looked online and it was like 3,600 new.
Let me find TVS H1688X, I think, and USD is services. It's hard to find US prices. In Canadian, it's $4,600. In US, it's roughly $3,200. So yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, I can't recommend it at all. Can't recommend the software. I feel like the platform you could make your own, but for what I needed and at this discount price, it is phenomenal. It runs LXC. It can run Docker. It'll let you run Docker in privilege mode. You can do all types of just awful things with the OS. You can compile packages and like drop them in there. It doesn't matter. It should also not surprise you that most of their clients were crypto locked a year or two ago, because all the services are admin and min for the passwords, and it repeatedly asks you to open stuff to the internet as you're going along. It's like nope. Anyway, pros and cons. I think it's great. It did not do Thunderbolt the way I thought, which is good, because that could be bad if you had it just over a raw block device. But yeah, it's pretty handy. I like it.
So you said I cannot recommend it.
I can't recommend it. One, the OS needs to go. That's straight up. OS needs to go. It's overpriced. So those two things alone. And then the third is it's probably more NAS than anyone needs. It runs a Xeon. It can go up to, I think, 128 gigabytes of memory. 2 10 gig ports and 2 10 gig Thunderbolt ports are probably more than you need. If you're doing video editing and for some reason you need to do it on spinning Rust, this might be okay, but you're probably looking at like an all flash NAS as opposed to this. Like the Asus ones, I think the 6 port or the 10 port probably much better. So I just can't, in good conscience, I can't recommend this thing. How do you approve such pricey geeky devices?
I didn't buy it.
Yeah. I think PC Humanity thinks that you're signing off on all of my purchases. Matt, I gotta store the podcast somewhere.
Yeah. From all the money we're making off of this.
Well, listen, we're gonna get bed sponsors. Just you wait. Is there anything you picked up over the last week that we should know about or want to recommend?
I'm just a little too far. Hold on, let me unplug.
I think he's looking on his desk again to figure out. It's like the first in, first out rule of. Is that how it is? Like the new stuff goes on the top, right? Last in, first out. It's a life like you.
A AK mower. That sounds good. Yeah. What's the AK mower?
That's high def.
High def, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's for Vision Pro. I'm assuming they're saying this is an $8,000 rider mower. I would assume.
Yeah. Okay, that would make.
And that's Australian dollars are a bit different for the conversion rate. Is it 2-to-1 now? USD to 80. It's 1.5 right now.
Okay.
So $1 US.
1.5. Okay.
Yeah. So you're looking at like 2/3 of that.
So is that 8,000? Okay.
8,000. Yeah. It's
So
gotta be a nice mower.
what does an AK mower do? I mean,
Yeah,
is
we
this
need to
like a
get
ride-on mower?
Nate has two. We gotta get Nate on the
Oh,
podcast.
how big is Nate's
I think
property?
he's doing a slalom. Oh no, this story is getting
Have you
worse.
ever seen those hover mows? Do you know the
This
hover
sounds like
mow?
you buying an Elgato teleprompter and then buying another one just to spite yourself.
This
The
is
hover
crap.
mower.
Pay
Yeah, I
again.
should buy another one.
Do you know about
I've
hover
not seen the
mowers?
hover mower. No.
So they're traditional things in the UK where you're trying to mow the grass on a steep incline, and
Yeah.
so I think the blades go fast enough they kind of just hover, and that you can basically have a rope tied to it and let down the rope, and it'll mow down this incline and then bring it back up and.
Honestly, it's amazing I have legs, ankles, feet, because I used to mow on an incline in the rain when grass was really long when I was younger. I lived on a farm, and I can only assume Nate does because Nate has a ride-on mower, a zero turn, and a tractor mower at this point in time. That's a lot.
What
of
is a zero turn?
I would assume it turns on its axis. It's got to be all wheels turn.
Right? Yeah, I've seen those. Okay, yeah.
Nate has a private disc. Nate needs to be a guest here. Private disc golf course. Yes, this is so related to IT.
Okay. Absolutely. I think we need a field trip. That's Australia, right? So we can field trip to Australia. Perfect.
Next, Nate, this is from a Sydney Summit. This is how I got this shirt. So yeah, next Sydney Summit, we'll visit the disc golf course for sure.
So my favorite activity in Australia that I've ever done was I might have actually mentioned this before. I had a friend who, when I was working at OpenText, and then before it was called Capteris, with OpenText, at one point he was let go, and his severance package was like amazing. And with his severance, he bought a Cessna plane. He was already a pilot. He'd been there forever, for ages and ages. And he said, "Well, next time you're in town, give me a call, and we'll go out in a flight. We'll take a flight one day." And so I give him a call. I say, "I'm going to be there soon," because I was going to Australia about, at the time, 4 or 5 times a year. And so I let him know that, and he says, "Great, I've got it all lined up. Just meet me here at basically at the ferry in Sydney." And so he picked me up at the ferry, and it says, I called this in. I called in the request. Everybody always does this request, but it always gets denied. I called in my request for Sydney Scenic 1, and everybody always gets denied. We got approved, so we're going to be doing this flight. I said, okay, and so we do this flight. We take off from the commuter, the private airport, not private, the small plane airport that's near. I mean, it's in Sydney, and apparently it's the busiest airport in the Southern Hemisphere.
Wow.
Because there's so many, it's a lot of takeoffs and landings for like training and it's also just not commercial flights. And so we take off and we fly over to Sydney Harbor, and then we basically do a corkscrew down about 4 or 5 turns, going down to really low over Sydney Harbor. And so we're passing by the Opera House and the bridge and the ferries and everything really, really close. I mean, you're like seeing animals at Taronga Zoo, and it was just spectacular. And then we flew up and around along the coast, and oh my God, it was an amazing experience.
The photos look great. I just pulled up on Google, of course. So it was called Sydney 1, I think, Sydney Harbor 1. Sydney Scenic 1 is the name of the
Sydney Scenic 1.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And most people get denied for it, and it's amazing.
That is so cool. Wow. How many times have you done it? Oh, sorry.
I just did that one time.
Okay.
But it's a corkscrew that goes down like four loops.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
So you asked for recent purchases.
Because you're always buying stuff. I mean, let's be honest. I'm pretty bad too.
So I one thing that I started this week is I
Yep.
pulled a pen out of like retirement. I thought I'm never going to use this thing again. Let's just put it away.
Yeah, who needs pens, right?
So I have this pen that I've had for years and years, maybe 10, 12 years. It's a retractable pen, but it is a fountain pen.
Oh, wow.
So retractable fountain pen. It's from Pilot. I don't know. It's like
Wow.
$100, $120. And then it's
That's an
got
expensive pen. Come on now.
it's got the bladder inside, so you fill it with ink yourself rather than getting refillable cartridges. And I use this ink from Pilot. I couldn't. It's got a Japanese name on the front of it. I couldn't pronounce it. But it's beautiful. It's this beautiful bluish greenish color. And I love writing with it. It just flows really nicely. But you have to get a notebook that's right for it. You know, if you use the Moleskine notebooks, they're often too porous, and the ink just goes. Or a lot. Some of the field notes are almost good enough. The notebook that's really great is the one that's really great has always been the Baron Fig notebooks. Baron Fig makes these great notebooks. But also the Leuchtturm 1917, or that German company.
Oh yeah, I've got a green one. I love it. I can't say it either.
Yeah. And so normally you get like normal size notebooks that are not pocketable, but they're like 4 or 5 inches by 6 or 7 inches. But I often write at a table, and sometimes the binding is just kind of a little bit in the way. So I got one of these like massive ones.
Nice.
So this is got to be 10 by 15 inches. And it's just beautiful to write on, to take notes on at the end of the day. I've got a big table with an open surface, so just pop it open right away, and it's just lovely. It's a lovely experience.
Piece of Humanity says your $120 pen trounces the $3,000 NAS. The fact that the ink is written in Japanese makes them want it more. We're selling the sizzle today, I got to tell you. And they wants to know if you're a lefty. I kind of look like you're a righty there, but
right?
Yeah. Just the way he was holding the book.
I have to look up how much this thing actually costs.
It's $160. As far as I can tell.
That could be, does seem to be accurate. Yes.
Okay, it's not maple syrup dollars. Okay.
Yeah, it's $178.
The price keeps going up. It's $200. $8,000.
But I've had this now for. It's a retractable, so I've been able to carry this, on the plane and use it, and it works just fine.
Yeah, and you didn't use it for 10 years, so you more.
I didn't touch it for 10 years, and I just filled it with ink, and it worked perfectly.
Oh, gotcha. So Nate's saying that the binding would be an issue on the left. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good point. Is you can rotate your book if the binding is bothering you, but.
So one nice thing about the Leuchtturm or whatever, and as well as the
it lays flat.
The Baron Fig, it lays flat. Once you've gotten past the first like 5 pages, it lays flat, and it's
and you kind of have to crease it a bit. But yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
and they also have dotted ones, which I really like. I love dotted notebooks.
The dot grid,
gridded. Yeah, I love dot grid.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of notebooks. Sorry. I do have to drop them. Unfortunately, I've got an interview today. But yes, I'm interviewing somebody. So I need to drop at 3:30. I'm not leaving Datadog. Still like it. We just announced our earnings. I'm sure you saw them. Everything's great.
Oh, did we?
Did you? Yes, we did. We did. I'm not.
Did it announce this morning?
It did, yes. I won't comment on stocks publicly or anything like that, but yes, we did announce. And I'm very happy where I am in case my boss ever watches this, but yes.
Went down a bit.
Right. Yeah, listen, the market is fickle. What are you gonna do? Can't control it.
I need to go up.
Well, listen.
It was hit 138 today. That's pretty good.
It's just a number. That's fair market value.
It's a number I pay attention to.
Honestly, it's a number I pay attention to. But honestly, financial advice being here. But listen,
Yeah.
no, I'm not leaving, but I do need to leave this podcast in order to do that.
Okay. So let's keep you here for another 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, will the stock go up or down if you... All right, folks, I have to hop off. So
Okay,
see you
I
later.
have to too. Okay,
All right.
bye.
Bye.
End stream.